So hi, it's Adam from Zero Friction Cycling, and so this video today we're going to be covering off the frequently asked questions in regards to prepping your chain for either immersive waxing or for a top drip lube choice. But before I get into that, I'm going to introduce Damien. So Damien is my new retail supreme leader. So if you've been keeping up with my latest news updates on the website or Insta, FB, yeah, you'll have noticed for a long time I've been so far behind trying to keep up with both the retail side of zero friction cycling and the testing side, and that's become basically impossible. So I've had to wait to get the right person to bring on board to take over the retail side, and so yeah, thankfully I found my super awesome person to take over that side of things. So Damien's got a lot of experience in a lot of different stuff throughout his sort of working career. But also, I met Damien in the racing scene many years ago, and he was an early adopter of immersive waxing, and that really helps on the retail side. So, ZSC is fairly synonymous with immersive waxing, although obviously we do sell, any of the top proven lubricants out there. But immersive waxing tends to generate the most questions about, what I should do on, various aspects. And so having someone who's also, from that background, with racing and immersive waxing, just really helps sort of as well with answering that side. And he'll be able to help get out all the orders and inquiries that I'm struggling to sort of really get to processing now. So yeah, this is Damien, my new retail supreme leader. So awesome stuff. And Damien's going to help me with a couple of videos. So just so he can ask the questions re the chain prep, and we'll also be doing one on the frequently asked questions for waxing, just so that I'm not sort of having a question and answer session with myself. So yeah. Damo.
Okay. First question. Should I clean a new chain?
Yes. So for many of you, that won't be a surprise answer. So chains come with what's called, I guess, a factory grease or packing grease. Now the packing grease is basically there to protect the chain from corrosion or from rusting. Whilst it is packaged, it could sit on a shelf for 10 years. It is I guess in itself, it's not necessarily a poor lubricant that a lot of companies put on. So some companies may put a pretty high quality sort of grease infused in the chain. But the trouble is that these factory greases, they just attract a lot of contamination very quickly. So if you do ride with a factory grease on, you'll have a very contaminated chain very quickly, which means high friction and high wear. But the other main reason why you need to clean off the factory grease is that it's not going to mix or play well with pretty much all of the proven top lubricant choices. So if you were to put that into your wax pot, the wax isn't going to stick and you're going to contaminate the wax in your pot. If you try to use some of the proven top wax lubricants, such as your Silka SS Drip or UFO or, what's the other main one that we tend to use? True Tension, Tungsten or Weather, Smooth, any of those types of lubricants, they're just not going to mix with the factory grease. You can get by a bit. If your plan is just to put any old wet lube on, then, yes, but I mean, you'll get a result, but it's not going to be a great one. So step one recommended process is to always clean off the factory grease, and then you move to a chosen, hopefully top lubricant choice, and that's going to deliver you a much greater, sort of chain longevity outcome, lower friction and lower wear. So last, before I ramble on too long on that, there is still amazingly some information out there, despite the fact that it's been proven all the way back really from, say, I think 2012 in the Friction Facts days, that factory grease is really much higher friction losses and also contamination gathering versus the top lubricants. There are still some major media outlets that have put out some YouTube videos that say that removing the factory grease is a mistake. So unfortunately, despite all the work of both Friction Facts and the stuff that myself, Zero Friction Cycling, have been putting out for a long time, there's amazingly still in 2021 advice getting out there from major media saying that you should leave the factory grease on. I can assure you the first step that you want to do every single time is to remove the factory grease. So, sorry, long rambling answer to question one, but hopefully covered off, all the bases there.
Yep. And with that factory grease, what should you use to clean it off?
Cool. So this one comes up a lot and mostly from people, asking this question all around the world. So I do have on my Wax and Master Guide on the website, I've got, for in Australia speak, I recommend mineral terps to initially dissolve off the factory grease, and then methylated spirits to remove any film left over from cleaning. So cleaning a chain is basically always two parts. There's the cleaning part, which you want to dissolve off your factory grease, and then there's the, I guess, removing any leftover film. So you don't want your wax or your top wax lube trying to fight through a film to bond to the chain metal. You want clean, clear chain metal left behind from your cleaning process. Methylated spirits is basically pure alcohol, just with a little additive to make it unpalatable for you to drink so you don't get drunk on it. Mineral terps is an organic solvent, so it's not going to cause what's called hydrogen embrittlement or stress corrosion in your chain, which can happen with some degreasers. If you just sort of leave it soak in there, it can actually make the chain metal brittle through that process. So mineral terps being an organic solvent, it doesn't do that. It's cheap and it's clean, so it doesn't leave much of a film behind for the methylated spirits to have to deal with. Using like petrols, diesels, and a lot of degreasers, they do leave a heavier film behind, so it just can mean either that if you do a couple of rounds of methylated spirits, it won't really get rid of that film properly, or you've got to do more rounds of methylated spirits to make sure. So yeah, in the Wax End Master Guide, which is in the instructions tab on the website, it does state pretty clearly all the steps involved and just use mineral terps and methylated spirits. The frequently asked questions that I get on this area a lot is that usually it's from people in other countries around the world. What these solvents are called in your country is, if you're not in Australia, it's likely different. So in America, for instance, mineral terps, over there they call it white spirits, and methylated spirits in America is called denatured alcohol. Now, if you're in Denmark or Poland or Canada or Czechoslovakia, those chemicals or solvents are likely to be called something different. So the best thing to do if you're stuck on exactly what you should use, so you know what we use here in Australia, just get off Google the material safety data sheet for mineral terps and for methylated spirits in Australia. Take that to your local hardware store and show someone there and ask them, look, what is it that you have in the hardware store that is basically the equivalent of this in our country? So and the what it is varies, sort of quite a lot. So yeah, you can read on forums and a lot of chats and that. There are so many different ways that people say is the best way to clean their chain. They'll use a round of diesel followed by citrus degreaser, followed by sugar soap, followed by something else and something else and something else. And it's a really convoluted, complicated thing. Honestly, mineral terps just does a great job, very clean, strong solvent, low toxicity, leaves very little film behind, and methylated spirits, which is basically pure alcohol, and that's it. So then it really just gets into, sort of how many rounds and that, which we'll cover soon.
Okay.
Cool.
So how many rounds or how many processes do you have to do to clean the chain, and roughly how many mils of solvent do you have to use?
Excellent question, thank you. So for most chains, so it does vary a little bit. So different chain brands use a different factory grease. So now for most of them, so YBN, KMC and Shimano, you're looking at 3 rounds at 250 ml per chain per round. So you literally you can just get a container like this from your supermarket. If you're just doing the one chain, you put 250 ml in. Now for the first round, factory grease it's pretty stubborn stuff. So for the first round, you'll actually want to let that soak for about 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at max. And then you just come back and give it a shake, and then you pour that out, wipe the chain, wipe the container, and from there you can just rip through the next round. So you put in your next round of mineral terps, 250 ml per chain. So do rounds 2 and round 3, dry the chain, and then you will do 2 by 250 ml per chain of methylated spirits. Other chains, so Campagnolo, their factory grease normally will take you 4 rounds at 250 ml per chain. SRAM really use a pretty sort of heavy factory grease, so that normally takes 5 rounds at 250 ml per chain. So KMC, Shimano, YBN, you're looking 3 rounds of terps, 250 ml per chain, 2 rounds of methylated spirits. Campy, 4 rounds. SRAM, 5 rounds. And that pretty much covers off the main ones.
And what about if someone's got a used chain?
Yep.
How do they know whether it's worth cleaning for waxing or for drip dry?
Yeah.
Drip lube.
Cool, yeah. So that's another one that comes through a lot. And this one's really a bit of an it depends. So, if you've got, say, a Shimano or Tegra chain that really isn't going to cost you very much, especially if you're sort of buying online, you've ridden it for 2,000 kilometres, is it worth cleaning up that chain for immersive waxing or for a top drip lube? It's probably not. So, brand new chains with factory grease, you're looking at most times sort of 750 ml to a litre of terps in most cases and 500 ml of methylated spirits. Really easy to clean and doesn't cost you very much. Once you have ridden the chain for 1,000, 1,500 Ks, 2,000 Ks, it's going to take you literally probably somewhere between 3 and 4 litres, sometimes even more, to get that chain perfectly clean. So, it can be 10, 12, 15 bars of, 250 ml each time. It'll just go black, you pour it out, you go again, it'll go black, and so on, until finally the terps is coming out basically as clear as when it went in. So you'll have gone through a lot of solvent to clean up that chain, and the chain might be half worn or worse depending on what you're using by that time. So you sort of go, is that really worth it to clean up this chain for immersive waxing, or do I either just push on as is and then next new chain I'm going to do the switch, or I really want to switch now, I'm tired of dealing with this black high friction mess, so just start afresh with a new chain. But things can be different, like if it's say like an Axis Road red chain that costs you $150, or it's an XX1 chain, that's a different kettle of fish. If it's a couple of thousand Ks old, it's a really expensive chain, and those chains are really very hardy, so they do have very high wear resistance. It really is still going to be worth cleaning up that chain for immersive waxing, so or a top drip lube. So yeah, it is a bit of an it depends. Cost of the chain, how much is it worn, just weigh up then how many, is it worth putting that many litres of solvent through it and making the switch. So sometimes definitely yes, sometimes no. The best thing is though is to try to get to it as soon as possible. If you're going to do it, obviously the earlier the better versus running on a black abrasive sort of wet lube. So yep.
Do you need one of these ultrasonic cleaners?
So no. So I will be doing a episode devoted to ultrasonic cleaning and race chains. So ultrasonics are great if you are really going to be prepping your own race chains. And they can be handy if you're staying with a wet lube. Wet lubes do attract contamination, and an ultrasonic, if used properly, can do a better clean versus just doing a container method. An ultrasonic will get into the tiny nooks and crannies and fissures that an agitated clean in a container will not do. But we're talking, this is a very marginal gain type thing, especially when you're just cleaning a brand new chain with factory grease. You absolutely do not need an ultrasonic at all. You would never track, just for your factory grease and your training chains, you would never be able to tangibly track the difference between cleaning with an ultrasonic versus just cleaning in your container. And a lot of times as well, like if a lot of people are buying ultrasonics that they're pretty cheap stuff, or they're pretty, they're big. They've bought a 6 litre ultrasonic from Super Cheap Auto, and their actual cleaning power per litre is really low, and you end up having to faff around with stuff like filling up the bulk of it with water, putting the chain in a bag with the solvent. It's not really doing anything more than just ripping through it with the container method. So yeah, I'll be going through how to ultrasonic clean properly in a separate episode, because there's a bit to that. But in short, no, you do not need at all an ultrasonic for waxing or for cleaning your chain. Container method, just a flush rinse, does a perfect job.
And what about UFO Clean?
So yeah, so you'll see on the table, I've put UFO Clean out there. So UFO Clean is, a relatively new product that I think was launched probably about 2 years ago. So UFO Clean is 100% environmentally friendly. So not many cleaners are 100% environmentally friendly. So I use mineral terps and methylated spirits because they do have very low toxicity. They're easy for me to recycle, and they're easy for people to properly dispose of if you're not able to recycle them at home, which is going to be most. If you don't want to use solvents at all, and you want to use something that is 100% environmentally friendly, then UFO Clean is pretty well the only product I guess I know that does a really top job at cleaning both factory grease, and it's also designed to clean wax chains. So we do use UFO Clean for maintaining our wax race chains. So it's great to make sure we do a perfect clean on our race chains. But yeah, it's also great for cleaning a factory grease chain if you want to use something that's definitely 100% environmentally friendly. I'd recommend, so you can have a look at, obviously Ceramic Speed, they have their own video on how to use UFO Clean. They do demonstrate doing it on bike. But yeah, I'm not a fan of doing an on-bike clean of a factory grease chain. I'm a fan of taking the chain off and actually soaking it in the solvent or the cleaner, giving it a good agitated shake and getting rid of it. So now the UFO Clean, bit of a different ratio. So you can basically use pretty much just like I guess a bath. So one bath, say 250 ml of UFO Clean. If you're going to clean a factory grease chain, give it a soak in there for a good sort of 5 to 10 minutes, and you rinse it out with water. The water will go from basically white to clear when it's rinsed out. Ceramic Speed do say you can then just basically move to applying your UFO drip or move to your immersive waxing. Personally, I would still give it a rinse with methylated spirits just to be ultra 100% safe that we're going to get the absolute best bond possible. But officially, they do say you can just use the UFO Clean and then just flush it out with water, and all is good. So that's an option, especially in some countries if you're finding that you just can't get a solvent that you're comfortable with is going to match what we sort of are using or recommending in Australia. Then UFO Clean is a great product to take care of both factory grease chains and also for maintaining whether you're on a top wax strip lube or a wax chain. It's just great to cover both. So costs more, but it does a great job and environmentally friendly. So I think.
And I've got one last
a supplementary. Excellent.
Unscripted question.
Yep.
Person's going to get their new chain.
Yep.
A factory with the factory grease on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they take it out of the box. They fit it to their bike.
Yep.
They cut it to length.
Mm-hmm.
Should they go for a ride on that chain while it's got the factory grease on it before they clean it?
Yeah, so that's a good one, and that is one that comes up a little bit. So in general, my recommendation is no, because the ride will bring in more contamination that you just won't be able to get out with a container clean method. If you do have an ultrasonic cleaner and you know how to use the ultrasonic cleaner, going for a ride with your factory grease on there is, that's fine. We do break-ins for race chains for a specific reason, because then we are going to be ultrasonic cleaning them. But in general, if you don't have an ultrasonic, I would try to avoid going for a ride first with the factory grease on there, because it's going to bring in a lot of contamination and you won't get rid of all of it with your container method. And I think, people also ask about, do they need to clean their cassette and chain rings on their brand new bike? So if you've got a brand new cassette, brand new group set and so on, they don't come packed with grease on them, so they're fine. If you've obviously gone for a ride, then you'll just want to wipe whatever factory grease has come off the chain when you've ridden the bike, just to make sure you're not putting your new wax chain or top drip lube chain onto stuff that's got old factory grease on it. So I think that's that one in full.
That's pretty well it.
Yep, cool. Yes. So I think that's, if we've missed something, I'm going to, all of this will be in sort of document form as well, and I'll be able to tack it onto the document. But hopefully we've covered off, the frequently asked questions for how to prep a chain for either immersive waxing or a top drip lube. By the way, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and other YouTubey type things, like share with your friends. So that'll keep you up to date with the latest low friction news and hints and tips. And also put any comments down below, and I can try to look at those and take them into account for future episodes.